My First Love, Part 4. After that conversation in the library, everything in my life started feeling different. It was as if I was living in the same world, but nothing around me felt the same anymore. Aisha was still there, but the distance between us had become invisible yet very real. We still talked sometimes, but those conversations were no longer long or carefree. They were short, careful, and filled with pauses that said more than words. I began noticing how life was slowly pulling her away from me. Her phone would ring more often. She would step aside to take calls. She started getting busy with family matters. And every time I tried to act normal, I felt like I was pretending in front of my own heart. One day, I asked her, "Are you very busy these days?" She looked at me and replied softly, "Yes, things are complicated at home." I nodded. I wanted to ask more, but I stopped myself. Because deep down, I already knew the answer. Something was changing permanently. A few days later, I saw her sitting alone near the college corridor. She looked lost in thoughts, holding her phone tightly. I walked up to her and sat beside her quietly. She didn't even notice me at first. After a few seconds, she said, "I think everything is happening too fast." I looked at her. "Do you want to talk about it?" I asked. She shook her head slightly. "No, I just feel confused." There was a long silence between us. Then she suddenly said something that I will never forget. "Sometimes I wish life was simpler, and we could choose everything ourselves." I looked at her carefully. "Do you feel like you can't choose?" She gave a faint smile. "Not everything is in our control." Her words stayed in my mind for a long time after that day. Because I realized she wasn't just talking about her family situation. She was talking about her future, her decisions, and maybe even her heart. But I still didn't ask her the question I was afraid of. The truth I was avoiding was standing right in front of me, but I kept my eyes closed. Days turned into weeks, and then one evening came that changed everything. It was a quiet day. The sky was slightly orange as the sun was setting. I was sitting in the library when Aisha came and sat opposite me. She looked calm, but there was something serious in her eyes. My heart immediately sensed something was coming. She placed her hands together and took a deep breath. "I have decided something," she said. My heartbeat increased. I didn't say anything. I just waited. She continued, "My family has finalized my engagement." For a moment, I couldn't understand what I had just heard. It felt like the world had gone silent. Engagement. That word echoed in my mind again and again. I forced myself to speak. "Oh, when?" "Next month," she replied softly. I nodded slowly. Inside, I felt everything breaking, but I didn't show it. She looked at me carefully. "I didn't want you to find out like this," she said. "That's why I told you myself." I tried to smile, but it didn't come properly. "It's okay," I said quietly. But it wasn't okay. Nothing was okay. She looked down, then said something that made my heart heavier. "You are very important to me, and you always will be." Those words should have comforted me, but instead, they hurt more. Because I knew what they really meant. She was saying goodbye without saying goodbye. After that day, everything became even quieter between us. We didn't avoid each other, but we also didn't know what to say anymore. Every meeting felt like the last meeting. Every conversation felt like the last conversation. And slowly, I started accepting something I had been denying for a long time. She was not mine. She was never going to be mine. One evening, I walked alone after college. The wind was cold, and the sky was darkening. I kept thinking about everything we had shared, the laughter, the conversations, the moments that felt like dreams. And I realized something painful but true. Sometimes, love doesn't end because people stop loving each other. It ends because life chooses a different path. The next day, I saw her for what I didn't know would be the last time in college. She was standing near the gate, surrounded by friends. When she saw me, she came closer. We both stood there quietly. No words, just silence. Then she said softly, "Take care of yourself." I nodded. "You too," I replied. We looked at each other for a moment longer than usual. And then she walked away. That was it. No dramatic goodbye. No promises. Just a simple walk away, that ended everything I never thought I would lose. I stood there for a long time, watching her leave. And for the first time, I understood something deeply. Some people come into your life not to stay forever, but to teach you how deeply you can feel, and how strongly you can still survive after losing them.